Kieran, good morning. How you doing? It's Maynard again. Thanks, Lon, for following with Gears of Trust. Back here today with my friend Kieran Hodgson. We've got a real big issue to unpack here today. The impact of layoffs and the human perspective on that. So this, I'll tell you right now, might run into a 2-hour session. We're not sure. It's not scripted. The conversation goes wherever the conversation goes. That's one of the great things about Gears of Trust. We have conversation guidelines, but I don't know what's going to come out of Kieran's mouth, and Kieran doesn't certainly does not know what's coming out of my mouth. Woke up to Facebook Messenger this morning. Guys in the Northwest Territories at De Beers Mine, thanks for watching. That is really, really cool. Yeah, I will do an episode with my new friend that's found on Facebook. I'm not going to introduce him yet. He can do that when he records a session with me. Once again, I'm just going to review Gears of Trust. It's a podcast that I've created right here in Fort Mac, Northern Alberta, and it's for mechanics and technicians and apprentices and guys in the heavy side of the street. Also, auto mechanics, electricians, and welders. We'll talk to them in public if need be. Upcoming guests, I've got a lady that actually works at CFB Edmonton, and she wants to hop on and do a little bit of chit-chat. So yesterday was a busy day after recording with Kieran here, where bells and whistles are going off, and I absolutely love it. Next 14 days, I'm going on shift, so I'll only be able to record in evenings, but I'll be doing a lot of reading and writing in the interim. That being said, for those who missed the last episode with Kieran, Kieran's the second time recording a session with me, young apprentice here in Alberta. I'm going to get him to introduce himself to you, and you'll get more familiar with him. So, Kieran, look, take it away, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me again today, Maynard. For those that don't know me, my name is Kieran. I am currently a third-year heavy equipment technician apprentice. I started my apprenticeship back in 2021 here on the north end of the city in Edmonton. I have worked on everything from concrete trunks. Sorry, can't speak today, obviously.
Have a coffee, man.
Yeah, literally. So I've worked on everything from concrete pumps, mixing trucks, tandem steer, road gear, loaders, excavators, skid steers. I've also done work on hydrovac equipment, so straight vacs, combo vacs, water trucks, winch trucks, flat decks. And then I got my opportunity in the mine in mid 2023, I suppose it would have been, working up at Suncor Fort Hills in Maynard's neck of the woods there, working on everything from haul trucks, 777F water trucks, all the way up to 797 cats, various dozers, anywhere from D8 to D11. Again, various excavators. I can't even remember all the makes and models of those. And then your larger graders, everything from Caterpillar 16G to 24H. So I've got to dabble in a lot of different aspects of the trade, and as an apprentice, I feel I'm fairly well seasoned. And yeah, I'm still just working on pounding through this apprenticeship and hopefully get my ticket by the end, or sorry, I guess it would be the beginning of 2026. So we're almost done.
Almost done, man. You know, Kieran, when you get that red seal, buddy, I tell you, all us old dogs are fucking gone. You're going to be able to jack a pretty good wage. I'll tell you. By the time I'm gone, you guys will be able to say whatever you want for price, and they're pretty much going to have to pay for it, right? The thing is, there's not a lot of guys getting into the business, a lot of guys getting out over the next couple of years. Next 5 to 10 years, phenomenal. You're going to be in a good position, Phil. Meanwhile, I'll probably be pushing up daisies. But we all have our different. Well, it is what it is, man. I have to, prepare for all eventualities. Is that a good way to say that?
True. Yeah. There's only two guarantees in life, and that's what? How's that saying goes? 2 guarantees in life.
Death and taxes.
Death and taxes. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah. 2 guarantees in life.
2 guarantees in life. Yeah. I liken it to, we all have a start date, and we know when that is. And we all have an end date, but the trick is we don't know when that is. And what you do and how you interact with people in between the start and the end, that is who you are, right? So just remember that. That being said, we're going to unpack a whole ton of shit today in this one, man. It's going to unpack some personal crap for me. I don't know if it's going to unpack some personal crap for Kieran, but we're going to talk about the impacts of layoffs and human perspective. I've been in the workforce for 50 years, and guess what? I've been hired, I've been fired, I've been laid off, I've been screwed, I've been dude, I've been done, I've been blessed, and I've been honored. I've done every spectrum of the job market that you can think of. So, Buck, and let's just jump right into it, man. So, emotional effects and psychological effects of layoffs on employees. We're employees. So we're working for the man. Kieran's working for the man. Kieran, fucking take her away, buddy. Let's
Depression.
talk layoffs.
Depression.
Well, depression?
That's the first one that comes to my mind. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
so
you get a layoff.
Emotional and psychological effects, and the first thing you're going with is depression, eh?
Yeah, oh yeah. Easily. I mean, as mechanics, obviously you mentioned physical. As mechanics, we got to keep our bodies in decent shape and decent running order. So I mean, you go from pulling heavy weight to sitting around doing nothing for 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks. It's tough once you do get or find employment to get your body back into that, because 9 times out of 10 you hit the ground running again. So
yeah, usually.
But I mean,
being a wrench, that's the way.
Yeah. So, and I mean, but for me personally, it's, you work your 14 on or 14 off shift, and you're used to having 7 to 14 days off, whichever it is. If you're 14 and 7, 14 and 14, 7 and 7. But I mean, so once you get kind of past that 3-4 week mark and you've been applying for jobs and applying for jobs and applying for jobs, I mean, for me, I'm currently in a layoff situation, and you scroll through Indeed and journeyman. If you got your ticket, you can get a job whatever you want. You can do whatever you want.
So you're laid off right now, eh?
Yeah.
You're laid off right now. So where was your last place of employment?
So my last place of employment was CWE, heavy duty.
Oh actually.
Yeah. There you go. And that was when I was up in the mine. So
was that a bullshit? Was that a bullshit layoff where fucking you pissed somebody off and they laid you off, or was that a legit laid off where they lost work?
It was me and every other person in the company, along with except for his longest standing journeyman in the company. What happened was I came home to go to school at the end of my set in December of 2023.
Yeah.
And I started school for my second period at NATE, January 8th, running to March 1st. So March 1st would have been a Friday. And I would have written my AIT that Friday, my AIT exam. For those that don't know, your AIT exam is your Alberta industry training. So basically, they are the ones that decide whether, you
determines level of competency and knowledge. Yep.
Yeah, and that determines whether you move on to be a third year or you stay as a second year and you have to rewrite. So I was set to write my AIT for the Friday, and the day before, the Thursday, he had called and said, "Hey, I know we had your flights booked and everything to come up this following Tuesday here, but it's all falling apart up here." And then from what I was told from under the grate, I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, or another company, which I won't mention, from what I understand, they underbid the company that we were subcontracted to at Suncor Fort Hills by some millions. Again, I don't know if that's true. I don't know the exact characteristics or logistics of it, but that's what I was told. So we ended up getting the axe. And even Maynard's company that he is currently working for was up there along with me at the same time. And I had a friend up there working with me at the same company, and he had been watching it kind of just slow down and slow down and slow down. So he kind of knew it was coming, and he told me that, hey, this is probably an eventuality here, right? And sure enough, it
didn't come as a surprise, eh? Didn't come as a surprise?
It didn't, but it did. I don't know if that makes sense, because it it was one of those things where you're being told one thing from the man and you're being told another thing from the guy that's, there every day, right? So,
Yeah.
you kind of want to give the owner of the company the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
and then it happened, and I kind of thought, well, I hate to say I'm surprised because, like you said, I kind of have been being fed this insider info for some time, and yeah, so when it happened, it was just like, well, that sucks. That's shitty. It
So
was
how
great.
how'd Shy take it? How'd Shy take it? Because there's just not you involved here. So what did
And
Shy
that's
think of this?
that's another point of our topic today is how does it affect others, right? And it's huge, right? It goes from changing the family dynamic because she had got really used to my schedule, me being home for 2 weeks and then me be gone for 2 weeks, right? So
Yeah.
me coming home, it kind of threw her off her game, not necessarily in a bad way. I mean, maybe, I don't
Yeah.
know. But no, it for her it sucked because she saw me then at another low point in life, and then like I mentioned, the depression part of it, where it's fine and dandy for the first 3 or 4 weeks sitting at home and collecting EI and trying to find a job, but then you've gone and you've applied for 45, 50 jobs and you haven't heard anything back. You start to wonder, am I good enough? And why am I not being selected, not only for a job but for an interview? Like, what have I done wrong? I feel that I have plenty of experience in different aspects of this trade, and it's extremely trying for me anyway to be able to get an opportunity for even an interview. And it,
I don't think it's a trying thing for just you. Like that goes to fucking everybody, Kieran. That
yeah,
goes to everybody. Once you're done here, I'm going to tell you a little story about how I got myself fired. Fucking over at
yeah,
Syncro. That was a lot of fun that night. But yeah, when stuff like that happens, that's normal. The first thing you do is you turn inward and you say, well, fuck, what did I do wrong? And that's why I asked you at the start of this, is this a bullshit layoff, or did you legitimately get laid off? Because I've been terminated over personality conflicts and
yeah,
ambush and politics. I have been truly laid off at companies. I have laid people off because I owned a restaurant for 5 years. So I've laid people off. I have fired people. I have been fired. I have been hired. I've fucking done the whole 10 yards on it. So
yeah,
uh, just just to reinforce something with you here, it's not a bad thing to look inward and say, "Fuck, is there anything I did wrong?" But
trying to find
that,
something to take accountability for.
yeah, that's right, and that's how you go through a process of self improvement. But sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's
Yeah,
not you, right?
yeah,
I've seen in my work history where a lot of guys have been laid off, and it was simpler than firing.
hmm
Because as soon as me as a company, I fire somebody, I have to have my ducks in a row. I have to have just cause. I have to do this and I have to do that. And you can
yeah,
fire anybody for no reason in Alberta. You just have to be prepared to pay what you owe them in severance and
hmm
stuff, right?
hmm yeah,
Uh, I guess which leads me to another part of the conversation, one of my terminations, but I'll what's called touch base on a self-terminating process I went through. So let me see. I came back up into the sands. Wow, man, this time went quick. It
hmm
came back in the 19s, and I went to work for KMC Mining. And I was on a shovel crew with KMC at Base Mine Suncor. North American underbid the contract, didn't get the overburden contract. So then KMC withdrew from Suncor Base, went to same crew to do reclamation and looking after stuff up at Aurora. So I
yeah,
went from shovel crew to everything crew. That makes sense. I
yeah,
was doing uh, tracks, doing rock trucks, doing excavators. We didn't have any shovels in the dig. Oh yes, we had a couple of shovels, 3 shovels I think over at base or in the dig. But the reality is a lot of guys get laid off in that scenario, and I was fortunate enough to be kept on with shovel crew. And what you call this? Anyway, one late dark night shift, there's me and another guy at base at the shop, and I got a call to go out in the field. I had a M24 that wasn't upshifting. So this is, I'm going to say about 1:30 in the morning. So we're in the service truck, and I left my partner at the shop, and he was into a brake issue on a 793. And off in the pit I go. And fucking, so buddy couldn't upshift off a 30. He was stuck in third gear. Well, it was pretty complicated and high tech. So I dug all the Hershey chocolate bars that were melted in the fucking day shift, and it actually prevented the push button on the joystick from going down. So I took a pick and dug the chocolate out from around the push to select buttons and get the thing working that way there. It tasted great too. So I was pretty hungry in the middle of the night. So from there, my buddy Michelle, he asked me to stop up on the dump and look at a 793. The guys on day shift had tagged out the haul truck for a leak on an airline, and he ordered up the part. And when he went to order the part on CIS, it came up as a grease line. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll stop the dump, take a look at it. So I rolled up my service truck. There's nobody in the dump, 2 in the morning or whatever. I stuck my head in underneath the fucking lock valve. Didn't see no tags, air leak here, fix this, locked out or nothing. Well, for crying out loud. Here we go, 2 in the morning, let's go find the hose thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I should have looked at the picture on CIS so I would have known which hose to look for, but stupid me. So anyway, I grabbed the hose off my truck. yeah, I grab it. You pay attention because it's just an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So anyway, I threw my air hose on, fired up the DMAC. Away we go. Get lots of air. Great. So I hit the valve, load up the air system. And I listen, and I look, and I crawl, and I look, and up in my engine, and back in behind the cab, and I look, and I listen. Well, I said, well, I'll fire it up, right? Let's see what goes on. So I fired it up. She come to life, and as soon as she come to life, she started to roll ahead. Guess what I use for wheel chock? That's right, my service truck. So I guess apparently you're not allowed to use your service truck as wheel chock because I didn't do a safe approach in the haul truck. I didn't lock it out. She rolled ahead, bang, bang, stop. Anyway, I backed it up, threw wheel chocks on her. Reported myself, and I got myself fired. We're down in the middle of the night getting a drug test. And the safety officer gets up and he's ramming me. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? And I like explain to him, man, it's just like your first kiss, you know. All I want to do was to kiss a girl. Next thing I know, her blouse is off, and I'm going to be fucking dead. So you tell me how it happened, right? I ain't got a fucking clue, eh? So I got into a big fight with the safety officer at 3 in the morning while I was getting drug tested at Can-Am and at Fort Mac. But like, it's just one of those things that happen. You know, the highway to hell is paved with good intentions. Anyway, there we go. We go through the process. So the trainer figures, he said, well, I'll help you out here, Maynard, and say that you weren't checked out at 793s. And that's why it happened. So now when fucking sync crew gets a hold of this, I didn't lock out properly. I didn't do a safe approach in the truck. I wasn't checked out on that piece of equipment. So there's 3 golden rule violations there, and they punted me. They had no choice. The piece of customer, the client, they had to. Mm-hmm. But I was given a termination notice and with a stipulation to reapply in 6 months. So I'd go back to KMC. So I got myself fired, which was kind of cool. Which is neat. And you know what? I did go back in a previous time, which leads me to Maynard here right now. So do you have any ideas or stories you'd like to tell us about a layoff you weren't too keen on or firing? Have you ever been fired? I guess let's go there.
I've been fired. I've been fired. My second year company that I worked for, you know, it was one of those things that they expected more out of a second year than I feel that a second year should be able to produce.
Yeah.
You know, and it ended up turning into kind of just left a bad taste in my mouth for the apprenticeship itself, because it was like
Well, okay, so was that a confrontational issue you had with management when they shit canned you? So you're doing 2 years, you're a second year apprentice, you're
Yeah.
doing fucking above and beyond. So
Yeah.
did you
We're trying
confront
to.
management on this and say, did you confront management on this and say, hey man, this is like bullshit. Like I
Well,
shouldn't be doing fucking
I
fourth
kind of
year
did
shit.
I kind of did when we sat down and we had the meeting, and it was just, you know,
Yeah.
they basically told me, well, this trade really isn't for everyone. And I said, well, what the fuck's that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
because I'm a fresh second year and I don't know how to
Yeah.
rebuild a transmission or roll in
Yeah.
mains. Like I'm just garbage. Like,
Well, I'm gonna keep picking it. I'm gonna, Kieran. I'm gonna keep picking the scab off this injury here, just to fucking see what's there for infection. But
yeah.
so, what did you do to piss them off? I think you did something to piss them off. Did you fuck up a crankshaft?
The only thing that I can think of is maybe a slight, I wouldn't even call it laziness, but just kind of maybe having a millennial attitude towards it, maybe.
Yeah. So your attitude wasn't right.
It might have been.
Be honest.
It may have been. A truck came in, and it was.
Were your dog fucking?
No, it was as simple as I pulled a truck in. It was the middle of winter, and I pulled a truck in, and it was all caked in ice and snow and shit.
Yeah.
And it was in for a 1,200-hour service, and and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna let that drip dry a little bit so that I can see what I'm doing as this thing sits in the shop and melts. And while that's doing that, I'm gonna go back to doing what I was finishing on that other inspection. Well, they didn't take too kindly to the fact that I was not prepared to roll under a wet truck, which I was. I was just trying to avoid it for as long as I could possible until most of the shit had melted off. And they didn't really like that. So, but other than that, I didn't really. I was in good standing with. I was in good standing with my shop foreman, field service foreman. It was actually the maintenance manager who I had never even worked a day in my life with that came in and axed the employment. So it was. I had conversation with both foremen in the time that I was there, and there was never an issue. I was a fresh second year. I'm still learning. Obviously, I'm still well early in my apprenticeship and learning, but the decision came from above him, and the foreman was actually, from what I was told after the fact, is he was actually quite surprised that the situation turned out the way it did, because he had no intentions of me leaving. So
yeah, amazing, eh?
Yeah, so it happens.
So were you given 2 weeks notice, or were you just saying you're laid off today? Have a nice day.
No, take off. See you later. So no notice.
So firing called layoff, eh? Firing called layoff.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And how'd Shy react to that?
Oh, she thought it was bullshit. She thought it was fucking stupid. Because you can't expect a second-year apprentice to be as good as a journeyman. And that's what I was basically told.
Did she call the employer and say, "Hey, these guys are a bunch of fucking idiots" or anything? Or
no, you leave it. You let it go. That's all. I'm not a confrontational individual. You know me personally. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't fight people.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, then okay. I might not necessarily agree with it, but
yeah.
Maybe I was more confrontational if I had my ticket, but I'm also, like I told you, with being laid off currently and trying to find employment when it's so saturated looking for journeymen because there aren't enough, and I'm just happy to get what I can take, so I don't want to piss on anyone's shoes. So
yeah,
I just kind of, and that's the way I was raised too. Was like, just keep your mouth shut and do your fucking job.
Yeah.
And, okay. And so I try to do that.
I actually fired a guy, what's called when I was managing a bus company, right? So I was managing well, they're going under the old stance now, First Canada. I was managed them at Horizon, and they were a vehicle contract, managed the bus company, and that was an ordained position. At the same time, the subprime mortgage thing was going down in the globe, and head office for that bus company was in Aberdeen, Scotland. So for me as northern manager here, I would have to get a hold of Calgary. Calgary would get a talk with Cincinnati. Cincinnati would talk with Aberdeen. Blah blah blah. It was a sequence of events there. So basically, Aberdeen, Scotland pulled out money for setting up a light vehicle section at Horizon because of subprime. So I went in to facilitate that contract, and my role changed because we're not doing the light vehicle now, so now you're gonna be a bus manager. So anyway, we had just gotten awarded a contract to provide busing from mine site to Wapatrez, right? And I had one guy had a busload of people bringing them from site, and he was on the old Cantera Road, which is kind of a rounded piece of chip steel with shoulders. Had like 70, 80K. He dropped her in the ditch, kept driving in the ditch, put it back up on the road at the next like little pullout stuff, kept driving, never even reported it. So the next morning I'm at my desk and phone rings and hey Maynard, guess what? Blah 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 blah. So I brought the guy in. What happened? Well, yeah, I tell you, I got there, the shoulder and pulled me in. If I had to put it went in the ditch and I drove and I got back up, he just no one hurt, no harm, no foul. Bang, do not pass go, do not collect $200, right? And I terminated him.
Yeah.
Within 3 hours, his wife was on the phone to me. I couldn't believe it. Like terminated guy and his wife's on the phone to me. I know it had a dramatic impact, but that's just liability when you take a highway coach through the ditch for a fucking quarter of a mile and bring her back up. You really expose yourself for a lot of liability and stuff, right? But, yeah, so I just wondered if Shy was like that, if she snapped and triggered.
God no. She doesn't. The only time she'll pick up the phone is to call me. She's not calling nobody.
Have you ever had like a 2-week notice of termination?
Never.
Like
never.
Okay.
No.
Never. I've never had one either.
That's something I've always thought was bullshit. You know, from a corporate perspective. You know, as an employee, and you sign your contract, and you sign your life away. You know, you say right there that okay, if I'm ever to leave, I am obligated to give you as a company 2 weeks notice if I are to quit and move on to potential greener pastures. But you're allowed to lay off and fire me at a moment's notice. Where's the equality in that? Because I, as an employee, am to give the employer 2 weeks notice so that the employer has 2 weeks to fill that position. Yeah. But you as an employer do not have to give me 2 weeks to find a new source of income to maintain the roof over my head and food in the fridge. And I've always.
But if you're going to part ways with an employer, right? Casey, you said I've had it with this place. I'm going to the next place. Yeah. And you've had it with that guy. Alberta's got that law where you as the employer is supposed to give 2 weeks notice. But you know what? If you don't give 2 weeks notice, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to fire you? So, yeah, I'll like Bob Coffey. I love you. I can remember when a gentleman named Bob Coffey back in New Brunswick when I first got into the car racket. We're at a place called Jim Thompson Pontiac Buick GMC, and we were flat rate. Bob Coffey was taking the fucking screwing up the ass on flat rate. They'd point one of them in this and point two of them on that. And he got pissed off, and the Chrysler dealership up the shop, up the road, was like a block away at Elm City Chrysler. Bob Coffey got pissed off. Fucking give Garrett at the service desk the finger. I'm going back in 86, I think, 85 or 86. Give Garrett the Finger, which is the owner's son of the dealership, the car dealership, left the GM dealership and pushed his toolbox right down the center of the fucking road to the Chrysler dealership. And Bob stayed with the Chrysler dealership for quite a while, and then became a teacher with the province of New Brunswick too in his part time. But yeah, pretty cool dude. But if you're leaving the company, you made that decision. You fucking give her, do her. Like a 2 weeks notice is no big deal. It's an inconvenience to the company, but at the end of the day, that company, they don't love you or you don't love them. So at the end of the day, you've made the decision to move. There's no sense putting yourself through the anguish, right?
And 90% of companies, you're just a number. So
yeah, when we bought the restaurant at Manning Crossing, the existing owner of that had to give everybody layoff notices. And when we sold it, we had to give everybody layoff notices. So those people had 2 weeks to prepare to go to another restaurant or to reapply at the next owners of that restaurant, right? So it's a franchise owned thing. And I know some of the folks, were fucking mega stressed when I made the announcement that we're selling the restaurant. So I can only imagine what Scott was like when he sold the restaurant to me. And then the staff I had was interviewed by the new owners, so they immediately had an application coming into it, and then they could decide who they want to keep and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's not from the employer perspective. In that case, there are mass layoff when you have a massive change in operation or business. It's not a good feeling to look at people that you work with and that's helped you along your way, for 5 years in life, and you got to say, hey, well, guys, I'm changing gears from this to that. And it's a parting of the ways. And, we've got servers and cooks that were friends that we made friends with over 5 years that still contact Debbie all the time. Those friendships carry through with life. But it was hard for some of them. And some of them deserve to be laid off, but that's life. But it's not a good feeling doing it from a management perspective, and I know layoffs not looking good from a receiving perspective. But I'm like you. I have been laid off, but I've never got 2 weeks notice. Never got 2 weeks notice, and I think
and that's where I feel
figured out.
That's where I feel like the depression falls in, right? Is your like I said, the first 2 weeks off is cool. You get to hang out at home with the dog and catch up on some of your TV shows. But I mean, after that, I'm running out of money, and especially in today's economy where, my EI is only paying $2,300 a month, right? So it's just a tick over minimum wage. So, I mean, by the time I pay the rent and I put food back on the table and I pay all the other bills, it's like I don't have a lot of money to put into savings towards buying my own house and doing my own investments. So all of those thoughts just start to snowball, and it's like, when is something going to strike and actually hit and stick,
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, right? That's the goal and that's the hope, but it can be very frustrating and very mentally taxing for sure.
Emotionally devastating, eh? Like, it really is. It beats up your self-esteem pretty hard. So fucking.
Hugely, yeah.
So what do you do to get that self-esteem back? What do you do? What do you do, man?
Lately, for myself, I've just been kind of, and I mean it's super recent for myself. I've just been trying to keep myself preoccupied by doing other things, like going to the gym. Once we're done here for today, I'll probably just go to the gym and get a good workout in and try and clear the mind, right? You got to try and keep yourself busy, and you got to keep your chin up and hope that someone's going to call and that phone's going to ring. Because as an employee and as an applicant, all you can do is apply. You can't hire yourself. You can't give yourself an interview, right? So all you can do is make sure that your resume is up to the best par that it can be, and you submit it, and you type up a nice little cover letter, and you submit that along, detailing and outlining your current experience. And then you literally, all you can do is wait and hope, right? So you just gotta keep your chin up and reassure yourself that you are enough, and that someone will eventually appreciate and recognize the hard
give you
work.
that break.
Yeah, the hard work and the blood, the sweat, the tears, and in our trade, the thousands and thousands of dollars that you've invested into tools and schooling for it, right? So,
Yeah.
someone's
That's
eventually
one
going to
thing about
recognize that.
the mechanical trade, man, that I don't think is right. Like, we fucking drop major bucks on wrenches and tools to no fucking end, right? And there's no tax breaks on that. Even as an apprentice, you get a little bit of a tax break.
A little
It's
bit,
bullshit.
yeah.
I mean,
I've probably got easily 10 grand of tools in my garage, right?
Yeah, you're just an apprentice. You're just an apprentice, right?
I'm not even done. Yeah.
You're not even done. You started the journey, right? And you're
I've
probably
got
not running all Snap-on and Mac and Matco shit, right? You're probably
I got some stuff.
Princess Auto and fucking.
I've got some Snap-on stuff. My 3/8, I've got a 3/8 impact and a 3/8 electric ratchet that are Snap-on. I've got a half inch Snap-on. I've got Mac sockets. I've got Snap-on pry bars. I've got I've got a Snap-on 36-inch breaker bar and a 24-inch 3/8 drive ratchet. So I do have some Snap-on and some Mac, but God, I'm in no means in crippling debt, if you will.
Yeah.
For tools.
But that's a wise way to go. Hey man, there's guys are looking like hooked on crack on
the truck comes.
Tool trucks, man. Like,
it's not good. Yeah, it's not good.
Oh yeah, no. It's
the debt
you walk in there and everything's shiny and oh my god, it's almost an addiction or a fetish, the tool game. But now being in the field and stuff, now when I buy shit, I just buy disposable shit because I'm at the end of my career now anyway. Number two, I don't know how many nice tools I've left behind in the woods or in mine sites. I bought a really nice set of Richardson hydraulic wrenches, thin, high-tempered wrenches, and we were on a 400 shovel at Horizon at Breakers, and it's called buddy of mine, Randy McCrae. We were doing a line, and he dropped my wrench, and we're fucking standing in a foot and hot slop in the middle of a fucking haul road. I never did find that wrench, man, and I know, like, out of that set, so that set for 12 wrenches, like $500. And for the next 3 years, every time I went by there, I was looking for something shiny in that spot, looking for that wrench. Never did get it back.
The best is a wrench down into the belly of a dozer. That's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's either gone or you're dropping pans, boy. That's the only way you're getting that back.
You be careful dropping pans. You be careful dropping pans because there's many a guy been killed and injured fucking dropping pans.
Well, at Suncor, it was at Fort Hills anyway. I don't know about Base Mine. I'm sure it is at Base Mine. It's still Suncor, but at Suncor, it's a 2-man job and you have to get a permit for it. So.
Yeah. We use Ted.
Ted is such. Oh man, whoever invented Ted, man, I could kiss him on the lips. I really could.
Yep. There's procedures. There's procedures for doing that stuff. And if you're gonna drop a pan and you're not sure how to do it, and any apprentices watching the show, man, don't go ahead and do that. Get a hold of your journeyman and say, hey, what's the safest way? The safest way. Like we talked in the last episode, I mentioned to Kieran, you have to make that body last a lifetime. Right? You have to make the body last a lifetime. So don't put yourself in harm's way over something stupid. You'll always have a broken piece of iron to fix.
Yeah, use that service truck, use that crane, man.
Every procedure is written in blood, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Every procedure is written in blood.
There's a reason that you didn't just dream of these.
Have you ever been fired?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been.
Oh yeah. How did that go?
But
this is the good stuff.
Honestly, some of the firing. Some of the firing has been.
It's a me or you thing, man. I'll tell you, firing like I am such the type of guy. I'm the type of guy that people either love me or you will hate me. Like I don't have
I feel
people I
I'm the
know
same though.
in
I do
between. Does that make
feel.
sense? So when I've been
Yeah.
fired, either it's a me don't like you issue, it's a you don't like me issue. I've never
Yeah.
been fired for workmanship. I've been fired for attitude, and I've caught big attitude with some people. It's other people I'm really really good with. So if you love me, you will fucking love me 100%. And if you hate me, yeah, I'm not gonna have any
Yeah.
questions.
No,
there won't
I've
be
been
any
let
questions.
go, and I don't think it was honestly.
Personality conflict?
No, it was the employer or the man in charge doesn't believe that I am at a level that I should be at for the amount of money that I'm being paid.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's
So
in
you
town.
don't feel
I've never worked a mine job that I've gotten fired from, and I was
yeah.
making considerably more money at the mine than I ever was at any job in town, working twice as
Yeah,
much
but
and twice as hard.
two two total different businesses because when you get in a small
Yeah,
business in towns that they use their mechanics like we use here impact guns. Spin the living fuck out of them, don't lubricate them, and when they're burned out, throw them away, grab another, right? And
yeah,
that's it in like so I'm an auto guy. When I got fired at mine site for using my haul truck as my service trucks as a wheel truck, I instead of going back to mine site, I said, look, I just need a break from mining because we were playing the COVID-19 game then, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
one of my buddies that was automotive at KMC then, he was on a diversified bus, and we just started the COVID-19 driving Miss Lazy fucking game, which is a total crap of shit. So Ryan gets on the diversified bus and he sits in proximity. So when you went on the bus, you were allocated the seats. The driver would say fucking 52, you 42, you 44, whatever. So you sat on the bus and you had a one seat perimeter around you. So Ryan got on the bus. Ryan got on the bus and what's called he sat down, went to site, and then he got contacted by health, and health said, "Well, you're in the proximity of somebody that tested positive for COVID, so you got to go home for 2 weeks in quarantine." Okay, so he just come on his 14 days off. He got on the bus. Now he's got to go home and quarantine for 14 days off, right?
Yeah,
Before he comes back from rotation, he's got 14 days off. Are you doing the math here? So we got 12, 14, 28,
yeah.
right? 42 days off. And then he goes back to site for his next rotation after 42 days off, gets on the bus, goes in, gets called by health, and guess what? Sat by somebody with fucking COVID again. Are you following me here? 14
Yeah.
days again. Now we're to 56.
There's another 42
Then
days.
he's on
Yeah.
his, and then he's on, so he's at 56 days, and then he's got another 14 before he can go back to his regular shift because he's scheduled days off. So 66 and 4 makes 70 days. That went down on fucking on Ryan, and I said I ain't doing that. So I went into town and I did lift kits and I did performance mods and DPF deletes as an auto guy because I can go heavier auto, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a small mom and pop shop that I didn't have to wear a mask. I didn't fucking play any of that game. I never got vaccinated, and ironically, that's when I got COVID. I don't know if you remember that. I got hospitalized in Northern Lights.
Yeah.
I got COVID, and I got put in a hospital for a week at Northern Lights under oxygen in the full game. During Omicron, the virus Omicron, that wave went through, and that was the busiest it got. I had that entire COVID ward to myself. I had 6 nurses waiting on me hands and foot. I had 3 students that were poking me on a fucking hourly basis just to get their books signed off and poking people with needles and testing. And I sat there. I did. Oh yeah. I'm just, you know what I'm really glad about? I'm glad they weren't training proctologists. If I can tell you that, 7 days of that would have been fucking
Holy
painful.
fuck.
I sat there and laid on my back and watched Jamie Davis pull Rex out of the fucking ditch for fucking 7 days. When I was done, I had a strange desire to operate a 50-ton rotator. I don't know where that fucking come from.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, no kidding, eh? Yeah. And I know Debbie was scared.
Laid off. Yeah, I am a TV trained wrecker operator here now.
Yeah. So that's what I did instead of going back. Yeah. So after 2 years, Brutal. Oh man, you see lots of cool rigging. Now that you know about how to rig for lifts and stuff, when you watch Highway to Hell,
Yeah.
man, that's like
I could rig up a
rigging.
snatch block like right now. I really could.
Yeah, when you watch rigging
See
on
that
that, the
tree
first
over
thing comes to
there?
mind. say no, say no to drugs, people. Say no to drugs,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Fucking hell.
where did you come up with rigging? I don't know. But
Oh
anyway,
man.
from there, I went back to the oil sand. So I had it with the had it with a mom and pop organization. I wanted the freedom, so I was doing like 5 days on, 2 days off, the old conventional work week, and working on Saturday mornings. And it was just like after 2 years of that, I said, "Oh yeah, I remember where I liked shift work." And ironically, I went back to KMC at Base Mine, and I was the only guy looking after true shovels and excavators and stuff there. And then when it come down the pipes that they're going to reduce the number of contractors, I was a junior guy uh, at KMC in the shovel department because with 955 operating engineers a union. So I got laid off, and then ironically, one of the guys that was with Maynard working for KMC at the time, he told me they were manning up shovels right across the way there. So I applied with Maynard and jumped on board and been with them come up year and a half here now. So it's been great as far as that goes. But yeah, the like, wow, it's fucking brutal. It's like you get laid off in the middle of the night. So I got home. I remember when I fucking finished the drug test and he dropped me off at the house and I snuck in, tried to sneak into the house at 4:30. Debbie's really sharp. What are you doing home? I said, well, I'll explain to you in the morning there. I said, I'm not hurt. Everything's good. So, and it brought her up to speed. Debbie, oh, God bless her, man. She just like, if she gets stressed by it, she hides it really well. She's, oh, well, Maynard, you're going to stop this, stop. Well, it is what it is, right?
Yes,
I'm
dear.
Maynard, right?
Yes, dear.
That's what I do. That's
Yeah.
just what I do. So getting fired, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever been fired. I've been underhanded pretty hard. Oh, yeah, I have been fired. I've been technically fired, but there's a big story in behind it. I think, for me, the most traumatic firing uh, was at Horizon as a shovel team lead. That was fucking. When I come out of that deal, I felt like a rape victim. Honest, I felt like a rape victim. I guess a precursor to everything. I
Violated.
jumped from that bus. Yeah, I was violated. I was done dry on that deal. And that wasn't about a performance issue. That was about a personality conflict, which called in middle management, which called and they snookered me on the deal. So be it. It is what it is. What's called, but yeah, that was definitely a violation. Fucking just hands your butts about it. Ironically, uh, one door seems to lead to another door. So when I was terminated there, my original team lead on shovels from Horizon found out, which called this, had found out I was up for grabs, and then he got me to go to Raptor Mining. And then that's how, because I had house in Fort Mac, house in Edmonton and stuff, he found out I was laid off or terminated or whatever you want. And what's called this, my as Boyce Wellman would say, my visit to the corner office didn't go that good. Which called it. So yeah, I went into Raptor Mining and did components and worked with a bunch of apprentices, stuff like that down there.
Yeah.
And that was a good experience. I've met some really good friends that I've carried through to these days here too. Almost everybody on my crew I still talk with. Right? Which is really, really neat. Really, really neat. Well, so that being said, so looking at layoffs, right? Do you think when we leave, it affects the company culture, or like, have you had one of your buddies get laid off and like affected company culture, or like your mindset in the workplace, or what?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you know, apart from being, well, even when you're in the mine, I mean, you spend, just for sake of the viewers, you're spending 14 days on, 14 days off there. So you spend your 14 days off at home, but people's spouses either are a stay-at-home mom because the guys that are up there are making such good money that, or used to be making such good money that they didn't need to be working, or your spouse does work, so your 14 days off, you're only actually seeing your spouse what, a third of the time, maybe, you know, from
Oh,
5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then you get
yeah,
two
because your
weekends with
spouse
them.
is working, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but then when you're in the mine, like just for my own experience, I was with the same guy 12 hours a day, actually longer than that because we were on the bus ride together. It was an hour there, a 12-hour shift, and then we had dinner together for an hour. So we were together for 15 hours a day for
Wow.
14 days. So
That's big. That's big.
the only
That's
time
big,
we
big,
weren't
big.
together is when we were showering and when we were sleeping. That's the only time him and I weren't together. So,
Yes, way.
and you know, and so when layoffs happen or you lose people that are also on your crew, you know, not only the guy that you're sitting next to in the truck, but also the guys that, you know, if you ran into a stumped question and you needed somebody to call, those people are also no longer there. So you start feeling a little bit like you're on an island, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
and that loneliness kind of sets in because you don't know all these people. And a lot of people I've met so many different people from so many different walks of life. You know, I am a social butterfly. I'm not scared to come on a podcast and to have open conversations. But there's a lot of people that are introverts, and it took a lot for them to get to know those people on their crew, and then once those people are then laid off and gone, they have to restart the whole process as an anxiety-ridden introvert. It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a bad thing, but it's to them or for them, it's a sad thing because they don't want to have to go through this again, man, and like they don't want to have to get to know new people because they
Yeah.
like the people that they already knew, right? So,
Yeah. They built and established those relationships, right? So that all gets torn
exactly. They
apart.
have established relationships that are then.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said that better myself just then, Maynard. Is, you know, they have established
Yeah.
relationships that are then torn apart to no choice or to no fault of their own, and you know, admittedly, probably no fault to the company's fault either, right? It's just it's the way the
Yeah.
cookie crumbles, unfortunately, sometimes. So,
Yeah.
um, in any case, it is unfortunate to see, though, yeah, and it does definitely have an effect on company or shop morale and you know, the well-being of everyone, right? It's a shitty scenario.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, the guy I was telling you before the podcast here, uh, a guy last night, he picked me up on Facebook Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Which called he's been a friend of mine since 2008, 2009. He's a shovel mechanic at De Beers in Northwest Territories. And guess what? They're watching the podcast. They're watching the episode with Sean Stefanuti and I.
Yeah.
And they were having a great time watching it. And he sent me a message. And his buddy wants to do an episode with me too. So I'm scheduling that. His
Wicked.
episode's going to air just before Christmas. You're going to air on your first episode with me is going to air on the 22nd. But Scott and I
So
go
next
back a long,
next
long way.
Friday, then, hey.
Yeah, you're going up. You're going to be dropped next Friday, buddy. I'm trying to. I'll get a hold of Sean and finish the second half of his. He's flying into camp today, so I'm going to try to finish his episode up and drop it right tomorrow, so that 2 parts complete.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Scott's buddy up at De Beers wants to do an episode with me, and I'm really flattered by it. It's really cool. I'm up to 10
I
downloads.
also applied there.
10 downloads already. But I'm going to stop you here
there.
before we get going. So, oh, do you?
Yeah, I did apply at De Beers. Yeah, I applied at De Beers. I applied at oh my God. I had a whole list written out from one of the guys that I had worked with, and he had worked in all those mines up in the Northwest Territories.
Yeah.
B2 Gold was another one that I applied at.
Yeah.
Burgundy
Acadian,
Diamond
all that stuff.
Mines, De Beers. Yeah, I
But
applied to a lot.
as we're talking, I'm thinking of a guy I know here, Vern. I'm going to be reaching out to you anyway. That owns a shop kind of like the one you worked at the oil sands there before, Cold Nose Mechanical here in Fort McMurray. I'm going to reach out to Vern there and see if he's looking for a good apprentice. I'd love to have you on board, Maynard, but we got to get that red seal out of you. But
Yeah, I'm working
I'm
on it.
going to go back into.
I have all the third year books right now. Like I mentioned in our last episode, I have a buddy who just completed the program, and he was kind enough to donate me all the books, so that saved me a little bit of money there.
Yeah.
I'm currently in the 4-year program, but I've been heavily considering dropping it just so that I can get that red seal faster, because you would be a great informator, and I feel like I could build a really, really strong and lengthy career with them. And
are you ready? Are you ready to challenge? Are you ready to challenge off-road?
Not yet. No, I have to go through the books. I was actually going to start going through the books here this week. Now we're already into Tuesday, so I might crack into them later today or tomorrow. We'll see. The Oilers play at 5, so that takes some precedence for me. I gotta watch them lose here to the Sens.
Fuck, that was pathetic last night.
Prime time hockey is not our. We lost 3-0 to the Devils last time, and now 3-0 to Montreal. It's no more hockey on Mondays. That's what, hockey on Mondays, leave it.
That's what happens when you get your. That's what happens when you get your goaltenders from Timu, buddy. Fucking like.
I don't want to talk. I got to sign
Skinner and
I don't want to talk
Pickard, like, oh man. Yeah, let's get off that, because now you're making me upset. Okay, stop.
Moving on. But yes, no. As far as the exam goes, no. I want to go through these books. I would really like to just challenge that exam. From what he told me, that the 3rd year course is actually harder than the exam itself. So I would really like to just go through these books and then just pay and challenge the exam and hopefully be successful with it. And then I'm still short on hours.
Open some doors for you, buddy. You let me know. Let me know. I will open doors for you. No ifs, ands, or buts.
I appreciate that, good sir.
If there's any mechanics, off-road dudes that are not happy doing what they're doing and you want to jump ship and open up a whole new world for yourself, get a hold of me too on Facebook, right? So I've got connections. Good company to work for. If you don't mind working. If you're dog fucker, you better stay where you're too. But so going back to the emotional connections within that team, let's call it. So my buddy up in De Beers, and that's what I was going with. Like, we were one of the original shovel crews at Horizon, and I got terminated. We both went from twisting wrenches to lead hands, team leads, and that department actually self-destructed within itself through hierarchy and guys backstabbed each other and all kinds of good stuff. And Scott got terminated. Daryl got terminated. They just fucking terminated all their team leads. They took the shovel department, collapsed it, and put them in the truck shop. And it's a totally different world out there right now. But those nights at 40 below, when your fucking fingers hurt and the other guy's out of the truck with you and you're trying to get shit fucking done, that's where relationships get established, because you know the guy's got your back. That makes sense?
Yeah, brothers in arms, man.
So you starting your career. Yeah, and when those guys get laid off or you get laid off, you get fired, there's an emotional fucking carnage for that every time. And you know what?
Seriously?
Companies don't care. I'll tell you, companies don't care about they have HR departments, and the perception is the HR department's concerned about your mental health. That's a load of fucking crap. HR department is there to ensure that the company doesn't get sued, and they can terminate you or discipline you as quickly as possible for control. Nothing more than that, than control. And you take the one mine type that does the jabber job, that's control. That's nothing else to do. So if you think the HR department's your friend as a mechanic, no. As soon as you go to HR, you flag yourself. Oh, this guy's a troublemaker. He's going to make trouble for us. He doesn't like this. He's not this. He's not that. He's not this. You get some companies that are really, really woke, and if you offend somebody, punk. I knew one guy that was at a lunchroom in the mine site here. Him and his buddy were acting like they were gay, and so on and so forth. What's called, you know how guys play out all the time? Yeah. Someone else was in the lunchroom, was offended by it, got a hold of HR, and had the two of them punted. If you can believe that. That's fucking brutal, eh? So as you start your career, pal, know your audience, right?
Be aware.
Be aware. Know your audience. Ironically, I'm talking like this on my own podcast, but if I get punted tomorrow, that's the way it is. I get punted tomorrow. I'll go work for mom and pop or push out. I've got books coming out. I've got apps coming out and courses coming out and stuff. So reality is I'm 65. I'm not going to be doing this much longer. I truly enjoy what I'm doing right now. I'm enjoying, fucking loving these Oz guys I can work with. These guys are such a breath of fresh air, and I like the company mindset. And like I said on one of our events here this summer to one guy, is that, man, I wish I had found this company 30 years ago. If I was you, what a perfect company to get with, right? Because they're
very
just a breath of
inclusive.
fresh air.
Yeah, they're very inclusive.
They're inclusive, but they're honest.
Yeah.
They're honest. Like when you go to here's an HR visit with an Australian company. I fucking tell the guys, fucking they march in. Hey Maynard, you stupid fucking cunt. What have you been doing this time? Who'd you piss off, you wanker? Well, fuck's sake, Maynard. You're such a fucking asshole. You need to get your shit together. We're gonna fucking kick you, wind up in Papua New Guinea, buddy. So you get the fuck back out there and fucking get your shit together. Stop pissing people off. Have a beer before you fuck up there too. Right? It's like I imagine that's what my HR business is going to be like with my Aussie buddies here. But you know what? There's not a lot of political niceties with these guys. There's not a lot of political niceties. These guys feel exactly the dream way. If I'm being an idiot, someone tells me I'm being an idiot. I like that. And if, that's why I'm married. Because when I'm being an idiot, guess what Debbie does? Let me know, hey, you're not doing that. You're stupid shit, right? I can work under that knowing that I made a mistake, being an asshole, from being abrasive. That's an easy pill for me to swallow. But when we get into the situation where you don't like what I said, I inadvertently offended you or whatever, and then you come around with a knife and stab me in the back, I don't appreciate that crap. So, and if I'm working for a company like that, I should not work here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's only a matter of time before you offend somebody. If you talk and you communicate, everyone can get offended with something along the lines, and I don't do that very well.
I've worked for some really, really well-managed companies, and I've worked with some really, really, really poorly managed companies, and I've worked with really great guys, and I've worked with really shitty guys. I mean, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you're fucking. It's like that meme you see on TikTok all the time. Sometimes you're fucking driving down the road looking at the scenery, and sometimes you're in the scenery looking at the road, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're the good guy, sometimes you're the asshole. But if you're doing things, you're going to be involved in things. And those are the guys over my career I've seen that the guys that usually wind up going for drug tests are the guys that are doing things. Right? They're fixing something goofs up, bang, this blows up, then they break this, then the fortune telehandler, they break some rigging, but they were doing things. The guys that sit in the trucks, they never go for drug tests, buddy. Never go for drug tests.
Not much can go wrong when you're sleeping.
No, that's right. No, so we have one guy. I've seen him in. He had what I call the crane operator's data package from TELUS, right? Like this guy probably had 7 fucking terabytes because all he did was fucking watch videos, right? Imagine TELUS was sending them letters. Listen, we can't afford to have you as a customer anymore because you're screaming too much, right?
I had. This is a true story. I had a guy as an apprentice. So my journeyman called in sick that night. He was just. He had it coming out of him on both ends. He was fucking properly sick. So okay, whatever. He's called in. I'm a 3rd-year apprentice. I've been in the mine 6 months at this point. So not gonna lie to you, I was pretty intimidated. I was a little nervous. I'm like, okay, well, because you develop that routine, right? Of okay, well, you man the ship, and I kind of just follow in your shadow, and I help you where need be, and that's how I learn. Well, that's not the case today. You don't have me today. You are captain of the boat. You are sailing the ship on your own. So if you need me, give me a call. If you run into troubles, give me a call. Whatever. So I ended up getting put on a PM on a 793 actually. It was a 2,400 hour PM on a 793. and I was put on with a gentleman working for. Actually, I probably shouldn't name the company. I was put on with. I was put on with a journeyman working independently with a separate company, and
Yeah.
I was at that time I was a second year apprentice, and I'm climbing up and down all over this machine, and I finally noticed that the guy that I'm allegedly supposed to be paired up with is there in a service truck. I thought he had just got there, so I climbed down off the haul truck and I go and talk to him, and I said, "Hey, so I guess you're working with me." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Yeah, you bet." He goes, "Do you need anything?" I said, "Well, how long have you been here?" He goes, "Well, I've been here for like 2 hours." I said, "Oh, geez." I said, "Well, no, not really." I said, "The PM's almost done." I said, "I just got a couple more things to check. Maybe what I'll do is I'll ask you to hop out and check off the lights, because I obviously can't control the lights. Well, I can. It's going to take me twice as long to climb up and down to go and verify lights are working." So I said, "Maybe if I can run the lights, you can just verify that they're working for me." He said, "Yep, you bet, no problem. I can do that." And I said, "Perfect." I said, "Do you mind while I'm here? Can I sign your FLHA?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, you can sign that when I filled it out." We're past lunch, and he hasn't even written his FLRA. Like he just couldn't have been fucking bothered to even do so much as that.
Yeah,
And I'm
no
like,
kidding.
wow, like holy fuck, man. Like
thanks for being the team player, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, thanks for getting out of the truck to come and check on me. Thanks for coming to. You knew that I'm an apprentice. You knew that I'm out here alone. You were told that at the beginning of the day, and you were told you're to be there to help me out. And I haven't seen you the entire time I've been out here, because I don't even know what you look like. I've never worked with you before. I didn't even know what company you were working for.
Wow.
So I just saw a service truck parked 50 yards behind me, and I figured, well, maybe this must be my help. And sure enough, it was.
Yeah.
And some help he was. So, just a joke.
But that being
Just a
said,
joke.
Kieran, when you those guys will never change, right?
No, and this gentleman
guys,
was in his.
and you're going to meet lots
This
of those
gentleman
guys,
was in his early 50s.
They're
They're there for the money.
But just remember,
they're not
just
there
remember
they're not there to complete the task.
That is the guy. Yeah, but when you outshine that guy technically, and from a work ethic perspective, he's going to be the first guy to find flaw in you to bring to the authorities to have you terminated.
100%.
Because you know why?
100%. Because
I'm threatened by your presence.
That's right. Because you're doing better than me, and you're getting. Well,
the problem is becomes so. When you bring the PM book back to the team lead, and he sees all the items on the PMs all signed off by you, and technician B hasn't done jack squat, guess what conversation partakes in the office when you leave?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, how did the apprentice do all that and fucking Buddy's not signed it? Where's his signatures? Where's his numbers? Yeah. Does that make sense? So the next thing that's going to happen is the team lead is going to talk to you, talk to him and say, "Hey, how come fucking Kieran was out there and he cross-threaded all these bolts by himself and he hid all the evidence? He's a great employee. Why can't you be more like Kieran? You got a red seal. Get the fuck out there and do a better job tomorrow." So guess what happens? Next day he comes out and says, "Okay, I wonder if Kieran's locked out on this piece of equipment. I wonder if Kieran's this. I wonder if Kieran's that." And guys will actually document you to fuck you up the ass because they're threatened in their own ability. In their own ability, you know, ability as a mechanic, I'm a firm believer of this, is like sex. It all starts in the head. If you want to have good sex, you're going to fucking have good sex. If you want to have bad sex, you're going to have bad sex. And if you want to be a good mechanic, you're going to be a good mechanic. And if you want to be a bad mechanic, that's your choice to sit in the truck. That's your choice to get out of the truck. But once again, it's a choice that you consciously make. So those guys who sit behind in the other truck watching you work, they tell you who they are by doing what they do. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So don't confide in those guys. Yeah, it tells you everything you need to know about that guy. He's be the same guy you lend $20 to, and you got to chase him for it. He's that guy, right? So
You're that.
don't
You're that
waste
guy.
your time with that guy. Yeah, don't become an assassin and think you're going to take him out of the play, right?
Yeah.
Be the humble servant, get shit done, and fucking move it along from there. So if I have a guy that my first exposure to mine site, I was driven to fix equipment, and fucking 10 years later, guess what? I after going through every phase of my career, from wrenching to lead hand to team lead to fucking the whole drill, and then being terminated. Guess what? I finally realized that I was fucking truly the only guy, well, one of few guys that actually cared about the equipment. That actually cared that, hey, these shovels, these trucks need to be running, man. These had a sense of urgency about it. Even the management, they weren't really concerned about that. They were given a list of tasks to accomplish for the day, and they were more concerned about how many things to get ticked off their list so they could look good. They really didn't care about availability or stuff like that. So don't fall in love with machines, and leave people show you who they are. And some people show you who they are very quickly. That makes sense?
100%. Yep.
But when you get thrown in that corner office, don't expect reinforcement either.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody takes cover. If you're taking shit, everybody's going to look for cover.
That's right.
Over 50 years, that's what I found out. So if you're going to take shit, I take it like a man and move on, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. And to own what you do. Own what you do.
Own it, and have pride in it. At the end of the day, all you got is you, right? So, and you gotta make yourself look good, and you gotta be proud of what you did today.
Yeah, fucking 100%. So, Kieran, that being said, buddy, we're at 1 hour and 11 minutes, 24 seconds. I think,
it looks like it.
I think we covered everything. Yeah, I think we covered it. Did we not? Anything else you want to talk about?
I'm okay. Did we make it through the checklist or the guide sheet anyway?
Yep, we made it through the guide list. Yep.
No, wow, so we did get it done in an hour. Nice.
Yeah, just a little over an hour. Not too bad, Phil. So we put it into one episode, and we're going to say bye-bye to all our followers on Gears of Trust. Greatly appreciate you listening to the podcast. I hope it's entertaining. That's what it's about, anyway. It's
I'm not entertaining,
real shit.
So
yeah, I love your Kieran. I love your story. You're going to have some phenomenal stories at the end of your career, buddy. I'm not going to be around to hear them, but I know they're going to be dandies.
Well, anytime that they pop up, I'll tell you.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, right? I'm on Instagram. I'm on Truth Social. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. And look me up. Gears of Trust, Maynard to Bear. If you'd like to be on any of these episodes, you've got shit to bring to the gathering, by all means do so. I do have AI technology to clone your voice. If you're in a sensitive position where you have to protect yourself and you don't want to speak freely, we can do that. And once again, all you need is a paper bag to put over your face, over your head, and I can replace your voice very quickly. So that being said, thanks for tuning in. Once again, coming into the new year, I will be create a YouTube podcast, a Rumble podcast, and an Apple podcast, right? So that takes a little bit more work in behind the scenes, and I'm still doing 14 rotations right now. Once again, Kieran, thanks a million for fucking joining me, my friend. We got to stay back after the
Thanks for
recording here. Yep, not a problem. And if I don't see you before Christmas, Merry Christmas. Cool.
You as well, sir.
I actually say Merry Christmas. So, all right. Have a good one. We'll see you next podcast. Bye-bye, guys.
Cheers.
Here we go.